So today we will learn how to create a cost center hierarchy in SAP ECC and also SAP S/4HANA on-premise. Therefore, we navigate to the transaction code OKEON. That's OKEON. Yeah, and over here you can see the landing page of the cost center hierarchies. As we have seen already in my video about creating cost centers are assigned to the cost center standard hierarchy, which is kind of a hierarchy displaying different cost centers and cost center groups. And this is mandatory. So in this screen here, we can see the whole hierarchy. First of all, let's focus here on the left-hand side. Here we can actually find both cost centers and cost center groups. So I could double click here on cost center, for instance, and now I could search for a cost center by the ID, the name, and also there are some other criteria. And as you can see, we can use the asterisk as well. If I don't know the correct name and I only know that this is kind of a sales cost center, I could continue like that and therefore find all cost centers with sales in their name. The same also counts for the cost center groups. Once I found something in the hit list, I could double click and then we are redirected to the specific cost center within the hierarchy. Now let's focus here on the middle part. As you can see, we can see all of the different subnodes of our hierarchy. Our hierarchy itself consists of one top node, which is, if we scroll back here, the standard hierarchy, and there we have 1 to n groups, and we can even create groups, undergroups, and so on. So this way we can establish a hierarchy. And the standard hierarchy itself, the group name is maximum 10 characters in alphanumeric. The description can be up to 40 characters. And what we essentially do then is we create several groups. So for instance, I could select here the standard hierarchy, click on this button over here, and then create either a lower level group, because we can only have one top node for the whole hierarchy. I can create a lower level group like that. Just give it a name, test group, for instance, and hit enter. You can see the group is now established. Or I can also create or assign the cost centers to the group. So either the cost centers already exist, this we will see in a minute, or let's imagine I want to create a new cost center. You can click on one group, you select the group, then you click again on the create button, and then I could say either I want to create, for instance, another group on the same level or even a subgroup, or here I could click on cost center. And you will see here the details again being displayed. So basically this is all we have seen before in my other video as well. So here this is exactly the same. We can create cost centers directly out of this hierarchy. Fill all the important parameters, and over here you can see the different tabs which we won't talk about right now again. By the way, before we save the cost center, a temporary ID is provided. Once we save, then this cost center will, here in the structure, inherit whatever ID we insert over here. So again, this is also 10 digits max and alphanumeric. For now, let me just cancel. And let me show you how we can actually assign already created cost centers to groups. Right now, all the cost centers are already assigned, but let me just open one of those groups over here. We can see the cost centers that we created last time. So let's imagine that this cost center should be assigned to a new group. All I need to do is then drag and drop this cost center here to the other group, and that's basically it. However, if we want to change the sequence of cost centers within one group, we can't just drag and drop this one over here. As you can see, this is forbidden. Therefore, I would need to mark this one here like that, and then I navigate via these two buttons over here. And as you can see, it moved up, and the same also counts in the other direction. So in total, this means that we can create cost centers within groups. We can create also new groups on the same level or lower level. And we can also change the sequence of cost centers within one group, but only via those upwards pointing and downwards pointing arrows over here. We cannot just delete groups, so if I would, for instance, try to delete this one, the system will tell me that this is not allowed in the standard hierarchy. This is because, despite the standard hierarchy that we just learned about, there are also alternative hierarchies I will show you next. But basically this should give you a good overview. So first of all, here we can find cost centers and cost center groups. Over here we can then double click on them and display them in the structure. We can create one or n subgroups in our standard hierarchy, which can be alphanumeric and up to 10 digits with respect to the ID. We can drag and drop the different cost centers between our groups and also within a group via those buttons over here. And now let me actually show you the so-called alternative hierarchies. Therefore, we navigate to the transaction code /n KSH1. That's KSH1. And over here for our controlling area, I could create a new alternative hierarchy. Let's say test hierarchy like that. And you can see I could now maintain an alternative hierarchy. The alternative hierarchy itself is, for instance, used when we want to allocate costs from one cost center to multiple other cost centers, for instance. So we wouldn't do this individually for all the cost centers, but what we would do is we would sum up the cost centers in those groups over here and then be able to do a cost allocation. And also those are used for reporting purposes as well. So here I provide a description as follows. And then I could say here on the lower level, I also want another hierarchy group. Let's say admin cost center, send like that with a description. And by the way, this here, I provoked this error because this is the same as we have seen also for the cost elements. If I view the details here, it will tell me that the group can only be 10 characters max, and we cannot just use spaces, but we have to go with, for instance, underscores or hyphens. And there are a lot of invalid characters, as you can see over here. So let's say admin cost like that. As you can see, this works perfectly fine, and I could now also create on the same level 1 to n other groups, and I can assign here via this insert cost center my cost centers. So the screen you can see over here works the same way as the cost element hierarchy.